Hey, welcome everybody to today's Komprise Customer Success webinar. I'm here with Jeremy. We're going to dive into some new functionality. We'd like to make these super interactive if you're watching live today with us. So please do use the chat panels and we'll spend a lot of time in product. Jeremy's got some really cool new things to show you. Today we're focusing on digging deeper with the Directory Explorer. So a couple of housekeeping items just before we get going. In BrightTalk, you can enlarge the screen and update your any kind of blurriness you can have with the settings feature. On the right-hand side, as I said, we're going to have a couple of polls, but also use the chat panel for questions. And you can go to our TechCrunch page to review previous recordings of these sessions. So we try to stick to 60 minutes or 30 minutes, but we're happy to run longer if there's lots of discussion. So let's go. Yeah, so we're going to start by, I think it's always helpful for Jeremy, who's in product management, to review some of the new features that have been added to Komprise over the last few releases. Many of you have gone through upgrades or on the latest functionality, and we want to really make sure you're taking advantage of what's new. So then we're going to spend all the time in Directory Explorer and reviewing use cases through demos. So Jeremy, why don't you, I know it's a lot of detail here, but hit some headlines on all the new things that have come out over the last few releases.
Sure. Yeah. So the big new thing that we've added recently is smart data workflows. Please let us know if you want to join that pilot program. A lot of exciting things happening there. Data stores released in 5.0. We keep adding on to it. So we started adding a Directory Explorer in 5.5 and now in 5.9, which came out last month. We have added all of the power of deep analytics to the Directory Explorer. So there's a lot of great things you can do there, which I will show in a little bit. We've also added a lot of features to migration. Every couple of releases, we're adding more features with a lot more to come. A lot of different options, migrations to and from object stores, and more exciting things to come there. Continually upgrading our platform. KCP for SMB is now for every application across the product. So it eliminates the need for proxies now, unless you're using hypertransfer. That's the last step that we want to implement. And it also has a lot of performance benefits as well, and continually adding partners into our ecosystem. Reports, there's also webinars that you can go back and watch. We're continuing to add new reports. You can now save custom configured reports, and very soon you'll be able to schedule and email reports across your organization from Komprise.
Yeah, that's an area that I think I'm really excited about. And I know a lot of our customers who have started using these reports, especially Showback. I know Showback's a really popular one that's getting a lot of adoption. But it'd be great to hear from you all on the kinds of reports you're most interested in. Potential duplicates, things like the orphan data report. Those all come from customer feedback. So let Jeremy know. We'll provide some emails after, or even use these chat panels and chime in on what reports would be most interesting.
Yeah, and even if there's things about our current reports where you're like, I just wish you would also show this, we're continually trying to enhance them. So we love all of that kind of feedback.
Awesome. So let's go into the Directory Explorer, Jeremy.
All right. So in 4.10, I believe, we introduced the Deep Analytics Directory Explorer so that you can drill into your directories. As part of a deep analytics search, you can select whichever ones you want and then get analysis on those directories. We had a lot of customers asking, well, we have to do this one by one. What if I want to break down my analysis by directory? And we were already thinking that as well. And rather than just providing that analysis within deep analytics, we figured, why not provide that analysis within data stores itself? Because then you can start at the top of the hierarchy of your organization at the site and look at all of your clusters, file servers, shares, and then keep drilling down below the shares and get all of that rich data about size, coldness, and different analysis around all of those things, even, you know, down to the files themselves. And you can just keep drilling up and down and getting whatever view you want, customizing your view. Just a lot more we can do within data stores. So that's what we've added here with in version 5.9. And everything is pre-computed. So there's a lot of free tools now that where you can say, I want to target my storage system, and then you come in the next day and you get all of your analysis for that specific thing you wanted. And then you can, if you want something else, you come in tomorrow and after you've set it up. Here, as part of our regular deep analytics scan, we've added that directory analysis. So everything is available right off the bat across your entire organization.
Awesome. I love the interface. We'll spend a lot of time in there today because data stores historically was just where you set that up, right? You set up your sources, your targets. There wasn't really an environment for insight for analytics. And it's really interesting to see this become this unified console across, you know, all of these different storage systems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we've already gotten a lot of great feedback on the data stores tab without the directory explorer. So this was the natural extension just to keep going and give you all the insights that you need at as granular a level as you can get, essentially. So with directory aggregates, you can now browse both directories and files within a single navigation pane. And more importantly, you can analyze size, content, and coldness of directories and their subtrees. And again, this is something, a lot of this data is something that is heavy with the computation. So your file systems don't have it. Some of this would take a lot of time to calculate, and other tools that do have the ability to calculate it, you have to wait. You have to point it at those tools and then wait for the analysis to complete. Here, we're doing it because it's part of deep analytics. It becomes very easy, and you can easily integrate that with any of your other workflows. So some of the example use cases, which I'll touch on in the demo, is as a storage administrator, I want to analyze my storage landscape by directory so that I can optimize my overall storage strategies, and analyze the content of my shares by coldness so I can tier or migrate them intelligently. And then as a department IT admin, or even as a data owner, this gives you the ability to assess which of your projects are coldest within the share. So most people use directories to organize their work and have a lot of project-based policies for both within their regular business practices and within what they would wish they could tier and save money on. So this way you can selectively tier by directory or by project and have a different policy for each directory within your share without making it way too complicated to do when you add it to the plan. So this way you can selectively tier them to cheaper storage and save on chargebacks, or just save money in general for your organization. And other use cases, of course, with this that are just finding your files. So, you can imagine, I won't go into that use case, but there's a lot of, as a data analyst, there's a lot of storage insights you can get when you get deeper analysis of your data. And, that will vary by industry and by, specific job role and use case.
All right. Well, I think, a lot of people do come in, a few minutes into the webinar. So we have a lot of folks who have joined. So let's dive into the demo and remind you, I've got a few questions already, but yeah, use the chat panels as you go through, and we'll get to questions after kind of a quick overview that Jeremy provides. So let's jump right into what it looks like, Jeremy.
All right. So let me share my screen. So here we have the regular Komprise login. As you can see, we have access to, I'm an administrator here, so I have access to all the tabs available, including workflows, the most recent one. I have my plan. I've already tiered a bunch of files, and I can go into data stores and I can quickly see what I've tiered from and what I haven't. So in this demo, I've already tiered from my Isilon, my NetApps. So I'm going to pick something else and go ahead and start understanding that data and seeing what I want to tier from it. So regular data stores, you can go down to the share level. Here we have this view directories chevron that you can click to enter a new view. And just to understand a little bit of the difference between the views and regular data stores, we have these configurable columns and there's a whole lot to choose from. So I've added a few already, but say I want to add cold data, the amount, not just the percentage, I can easily bring this over. And now I can analyze anything I want to. I can resize columns if I need to. And using this bar at the bottom, which is harder to click with the video software, I can scroll to any type of all of these different columns and get whatever analysis I want that is important to my use case. So we have the same concept within Directory Explorer, but you have your own set of columns to choose from. Some of them are the same thing, some of them are different. So here I'm going to pick this ops share, and now I can see my Directory Explorer. These are all my top level directories underneath the share. And in this case, I even have a few files sitting there, just for the sake of demo. So I can see not only all the files that I have, all the directories that I have, but I can see how large they are, what percentage of the parent they are, and lots of different interesting information which I can go into, and I can easily sort. So, maybe I want to see my largest directories first or my smallest. Here, I can see, okay, operations is my largest directory within the share. So, the use cases are very similar to all the things you can do with shares, but it's much more granular. And we've heard from more and more customers saying that I don't do everything at the share level. I do it at the directory level. I might have different owners of each directory. They might belong to different groups. I want to be able to treat these all differently, and I want that to be easy. So just to go a little bit deeper into the analysis that's possible here are my configurable columns for Data Store Directory Explorer, and I've already added them here, but if it's a little bit too much, I can get rid of them. So size, of course, percent of parent, those things are pretty obvious. There's some non-obvious things that we've added that add a lot of value on top of what your storage systems can already tell you. For example, here, last file accessed and last file modified. This is different from last accessed of the directory or last modified of the directory, because that's only going to change with the case of last accessed. That only changes if somebody actually accesses the direct contents of the directory. But all of these are entire subtrees. As you can see here, we have, in this case, 59,000 subdirectories underneath operations. I want to analyze all of them at once. I don't want to just analyze that top level directory. Same with last modified. If nothing directly under the directory was changed or the name of the directory was changed, that date's not going to change. In this case, we found the only way to really get to how cold is this data is we're doing a roll up where we start at the very bottom directory and going all the way up. So this is the last file access that we found in this entire subtree. And similarly, this is the last file modified. And if, of course, if you want to understand, get any of that information for this directory itself, we break down that analysis here. If you click on the directory, you can get everything for the full subtree on the right and for this directory only, meaning not any of its child directories on the left. Similarly, if you want to go even farther, based on the cold data definition that you've already set in regular data stores as part of settings for analysis, we're using that same cold data definition to tell you what percentage of your directory is cold. And again, this is a roll up. So if I want, in this case, I can see that 54% of this directory is cold, but if I go to its immediate contents, 60% of that is cold. So I can get whatever level of analysis I want. Just for the full spectrum of what we can show, we also analyze the files themselves. So you can get how many sparse files do you have, special files, stubs, symbolic links, etc. And this can be really important for archival use cases or migration use cases. If you have, say, a lot of sparse files, then it's going to make add a little bit of complications to your migration. Tiering those files won't really help much. So you're going to want to, you're going to be able to use all of this information at a directory level to really inform what you're doing with Komprise and how to get the best out of it. So in this case,
just a quick question. I think it might be just to give a pause for a second.
Sure.
The question came in, what if I just added new files and I want new insights?
That's an excellent question. So here, since everything is pre-computed, you can always restart your analysis. So here we give a lot of transparency because this is we expect this to be an important question, is what date is this analysis from? So over here, okay, this analysis is a week old. I can click on this and see what happened. And if I want to restart my analysis and get, maybe I've moved some files or I want to see if there's any updates, I can go ahead and reanalyze my share. And when I kick off this reanalysis, it'll, depending on the size of the share, it might take a few minutes, a few hours, and then it will be merged into the main index, so that at least when I come in tomorrow morning, I will get, if not earlier than that, I will get my new analysis. And this is, so essentially you get the same thing that you can get with the free solutions, where if you want to kick off a specific analysis and get those results tomorrow, you can still do that here. We'll just keep that around until the next time you need it as well. Great question. Another thing I should mention, which is a great segue, is that if you do move the data, Komprise knows what data you've moved. So, so we don't actually have to redo the analysis to see your moved data. So if I go back here and pick something that already has a lot of moved data, here I'll pick this directory. You can see from this data bar, we've already tiered a lot from here. So if I click here, there's a lot less that has been that is remaining on the file server, and a lot of these things will be links. So if I keep going and I try to find some of these links, let's see. I can go in and see how many links there are. Oh, so not here. But when I do find some links, they will show up as symbolic links. So I can quickly search around until I find where my symbolic links are. And should know that, because if I've set a directory-based policy, I know which ones I've tiered from, and they'll show up as links, and they won't, you'll be able to see a little purple file icon here instead of with a little arrow to show that it's a Komprise link specifically versus any other regular link. So that's something that'll be instantaneous.
I got another question, Jeremy. We have very large directories. How long should it take for this to load using this interface?
Another great question. This will be pretty much instantaneous because everything's pre-computed. So the most important uses for the Directory Explorer are often in your largest shares. So where, directories might be the size of what most shares are. So we really wanted to target that use case and get everything to load as quickly as possible. And that's why everything is pre-computed during the crawl itself, so that no matter how big that directory is or how many files you have in it, it's going to load instantaneously. And if there's hundreds and hundreds of files, we'll of course paginate. So we only load the first 100 or so at a time, and you can continue to scroll. Or not paginate, but lazy load.
Great.
All right. So to go into some of the specific use cases, this Directory Explorer enables a lot of data owners or departmental IT who might have a smaller window of data they're looking at to treat their directories in the same way that a Komprise admin or a storage admin across the organization might treat shares. So what I can do as a storage admin is look at some of these directories and say, okay, so here's, this thing is, this one here, internal, looks like the last thing anything was asked us was 2022. So let's dive into this, see who are the owners. In this case, okay, there's a lot of legal hold stuff. I can look at the specific data. I can go back and forth. And when I see which directories are probably good candidates for tiering, or even, and this is something where I might have already sent a request to the data owner. Hey, can you figure out what needs to be cleaned up here? I can go ahead and do that and say, okay, maintenance archive, Mr. or Ms. J. Meyer, can you come and figure out what needs to be tiered? Then I can, give a Komprise login to that person. When they come into Komprise, they can do some analysis. Maybe they want to sort by cold percentage, and they can see, okay, this thing, oh yeah, we've got a lot here that we don't need. Okay, let's add this directory to my archiving policy. And, but there's a few files that might be important, so I'll add those as exclusions with a deep analytics query. Or maybe, anything here that's older than 6 months, I want to tier. But in my, in this other directory here, I only want to tier after 3 months or after 3 years. So there's a lot of granularity that can be done here. And just but before I jump into how that is done, this can also be used for migration. So for example, maybe the share is large, is being used for many different things. And strategically, we've reorganized our data strategy. We have a lot of new storage, and we want to move, we want to split up the share, move some of the directories over to the new storage. I can see how large are these directories, how cold are they, and that'll help me plan out my migration better and confirm that I'm dividing things the way that makes sense from an organizational perspective. So
as you jump over and show kind of the deep analytics view of this, I'm just going to launch our first polling question, which is what uses of Directory Explorer would be most useful to you today? Because you're showing a few use cases, but I think every time we talk to customers, they tell us more. So here are a few options: migration, tiering insights, bulk recall, any other data storage insights. And if you have others, just put them into the chat. Sorry, keep going, Jeremy.
All right.
Poll is live.
So just to show how this can be used, in this case, I have, maybe I'm a data owner, and this is my directory that I want to add to a tiering policy. I can quickly go to Deep Analytics and I can find that exact same directory. So And at some point, we do plan to automate this back and forth, but for now, it's relatively simple to just simply go in. I think that was TrueNAS, it was ops, and I had, I don't even remember which one I clicked on, but assume, I can just pick here. I believe it was this one. I can run a query on it. And now I see, okay, here's the results of my query. I can specify no move data. And I can go ahead and save this query. Maybe I add one more thing. I say, more or a couple more things. Exclude these file types or select only these file types. Maybe exclude these few. And then maybe I also want to say, last accessed more than 6 months ago. I run my query. I save it as my tiering policy number 1. Make sure it's public. And then when I go to plan, I can go ahead and pick some group shares. Let's create a new plan in this case, or change to a sample plan. I'll go ahead and add that share. So that was this one here, I believe. I'll set a move policy. I'll say deep analytics query. I will select my tiering policy number 1. And then I can, if there's other directories I want to tier within that same share, I can continually add more policies, and all of these policies will be applied sequentially. So I can go as far as I want with this, as granular as I want. The default is, by default, I think we stop you at 5 query policies here, but that's just an arbitrary guardrail. We can always increase that limit. So there's really no limit on how many queries you can add here. And then done editing, save my plan, and I can go ahead and activate it in order to tier that specific, with that specific criteria from that specific directory.
Awesome. There's another question just back on the data stores tab about customizing filters. Will they be the same every time? Will others see the same view?
Another great question. So if I go to data stores, I have one set of filters that are saved. So with my filters up here within data stores, these will always be saved for the regular view. So in this case, for example, one very useful filter is hierarchy. We're going to make this even more prominent in the future, because sometimes I just want to see my shares and buckets, and I want to see everything together, especially if I'm searching. Like, for example, if I'm searching for, something with S&B in the name, I want to see it all here. If I didn't have my hierarchy, I would have to then expand these things. So all these things we save. So I pick hierarchy, and maybe I only want to show my standard data stores, aka not planned targets. We'll save that. And if you can go somewhere else, so I'll go to deep analytics and back to data stores, and we save that view. Similarly, your columns will always be saved across data stores, and your Directory Explorer columns, which again are set as their own thing, those will always be saved across Directory Explorer.
Cool. Anything else you want? I want to kind of go to our roadmap conversation. Anything else you wanted to show before we do that? I kind of know we're on the edge of our time.
No, let's jump to the roadmap.
All right. So the poll in question that I'll give you one more second to chime in on in terms of current uses of the Directory Explorer. Are there ones that jump out at you? A lot of what you talked about was around tiering and being able to kind of move smarter. That could be around a migration project or a tiering project. didn't really talk about bulk recall, but I know that's also of interest. Looks like we didn't get a ton of, maybe it's too new for people to chime in on polls. So I'm going to end that one and go to the next one, which is about, maybe just tell us what you're thinking in terms of priorities for future updates to this area of the product. And I will let people, you might lead the witness a little bit, but tell us what you're thinking, and they can tell us what they are mostly interested in.
Yeah. So if you want to pick this before hearing what we're planning to build, then go ahead and fill out this poll right now before I say anything. But going on to our roadmap for Directory Explorer, these general options are what we plan to add. So share-based access will, we think will be huge. We have this for deep analytics, but because we've just come out with Directory Explorer, we made it for admins at first. So if you want users, specific data owners who only have access to 1 or 2 shares to use Directory Explorer, that's what's coming soon. Tagging files and directories. This is going to add a lot of value to deep analytics, because currently tags can only be placed by either a deep analytics query or a smart data workflow. With tagging, you'll be able to tag individual files, and then you can use them in queries and in plans. And even tagging directories, and the value of that is that that tag will be inherited by its children. So that makes user-based tiering even easier, because you can just move a file into a directory that you've already tagged, and it'll inherit that tag, and which could then be used to archive or for other workflows. Same with recall. You can already bulk recall directories from our recall tab. We want to make that easier, and we also want to eventually add the ability to automatically recall individual files from the Directory Explorer. Tiering and migrate, already, I showed some examples of how you can use Directory Explorer to then tier and migrate, but if those use cases turn out to be very compelling and very often used, we might make that more automated, where you can one-click tier from Directory Explorer or add to a migration. And other things that we're thinking of doing, for example, going from Directory Explorer to Deep Analytics, I had to find my directory again. We are thinking of automating that part as well. So, and lots of other things which I won't go into, which can come out of this. So it's a pretty exciting whole new field of options. So please let us know if there's something that's particularly compelling for your organization that can be done with an interface like this.
Yeah, I think it's really exciting to start to reach other users in the organizations. We're seeing other profiles coming in. Maybe they've been using other tools, like a tree size. There's some point tools out there that people, researchers use. We're starting to see broader adoption in other groups. So I think that's exciting. I think that connection to deep analytics. So if you've already been using deep analytics, this will be kind of familiar, because you've had some of that Explorer functionality. If you haven't, we'll definitely want to talk to you about using deep analytics as well. And I think that connection between the two will be really powerful. So really good stuff. So Jeremy, you mentioned an early access program, and I just want to give that a quick plug. We are working on some really interesting things in addition to what you saw today with Directory Explorer around smart data workflows. And we have an early access program underway specifically around some interesting use cases, one around PII detection, so sensitive data detection, image recognition. So if you're interested in participating in this program, giving us some feedback on the direction of the product, do talk to your customer success manager. And we're looking to get a few more customers into that program right now. So just wanted to mention that. And also, if you would like to watch other sessions like this, you can go to the TechCrunch page on our website, and you can email us at customersuccess@Komprise, and we want to hear your feedback. But Jeremy, I'll give you the final word on Directory Explorer. Any final thoughts or things you're looking for from customers and partners?
I think you said it well. We'd love feedback. We're excited about this. I think it's going to add a lot of value. And like you said, it makes sense. There are free solutions that were already giving some kind of Explorer-based analysis or directory-based analysis. So it made so much sense for Komprise to do that, because we have so much more information that we can do so much more with the data. So it felt like a very natural thing to add, and we'd love to hear more about what everyone would love to do with this in the future.
Awesome. Yeah, we always talk about kind of know first, move smart, and this is part of that, right? Get the right visibility, insight, analytics, and then set the right policies to manage, move, migrate, whatever the use case is. So awesome. Thanks, Jeremy, for the overview, and we look forward to hearing from you on your feedback, and we'll see you next time.
Awesome. Thanks, Darren.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.